That sound, you'd know it anywhere. The click, the static, the screech that climbed and fell and climbed again, and then just like that, silence. In that silence you held your breath, because you knew what came next. A single word appeared on the screen, connected, and suddenly the whole world felt a little different. Some things only make sense if you lived them, that strange mechanical song of a modem dialing in. To anyone who wasn't there, it's just noise. But to those of us who sat in front of those glowing monitors, fingers crossed, hoping nobody would pick up the phone in the other room, it was the sound of possibility arriving, one burst of static at a time. The room usually glowed pale blue, sometimes green, depending on the screen. Bulky beige towers hummed beneath desks cluttered with software manuals and sleeves of floppy disks. A phone cord stretched from the wall to the back of the machine, tethering this strange new world to the one we already knew. You'd double-click the icon, the one that promised the internet, and then you'd wait. And wait. That screeching tone wasn't just background noise, it was anticipation given a voice. Every beep, every burst of static, every strange whistling frequency meant something was happening. Machines were reaching across ordinary telephone lines, finding each other in the dark, making something almost miraculous possible. You learned to read that sound after a while. If it repeated too many times, something was wrong. If it cut off too early, you'd sigh and try again. But when it completed, when that final hiss settled into quiet and the screen flickered to life, you knew you'd made it through. The air always smelled faintly of warm plastic and whatever was brewing in the coffee maker down the hall. The chair creaked as you leaned forward, and there it was, the internet, waiting for you. It didn't arrive in our homes all at once. The internet came slowly, like a guest who wasn't quite sure how long they'd be staying. At first it was a curiosity, something the kids were asking about, or something you'd seen mentioned in magazines stacked beside the television. Then, gradually, it became necessary. Email made it easier to stay in touch with family. Websites offered answers that used to require trips to the library. And little by little, that beige box in the corner of the den became the busiest spot in the house. But none of it was instant, not even close. The ritual always started the same way. You'd sit down after dinner, once the phone was less likely to ring. You'd click the icon, and you'd listen to the modem begin its work, that symphony of digital handshakes that somehow felt both alien and familiar all at once. It wasn't something to skip past. It was part of the experience. Then came the waiting. A web page didn't arrive complete. It loaded in pieces like a photograph developing slowly in a dark room. First came the text, plain black letters on a pale background. Then the borders. Then one by one the images would fill themselves in. Top to bottom, line by line, each picture taking its own sweet time to appear. Do you remember watching an image load like that? Pixel by pixel, wondering what the full picture would even be? There was something almost meditative about it. You couldn't rush it. The connection speed was what it was. 56 kilobits per second if you were lucky, so you learned to wait. You read what was already there while the rest caught up. Sometimes you'd get up, pour yourself another cup of coffee, come back to the desk, and the page still wasn't finished loading. And that was just fine. Nobody complained, not really, because we had nothing to compare it to. The internet itself was the miracle. The fact that you could type a question into a search engine and receive an answer from somewhere across the country, across the world, felt like magic. Speed wasn't the point. Access was the point. Connection was the point. Families gathered around that single computer. Kids showed their parents how to compose an email. Parents asked their kids what a hyperlink meant. Grandparents squinted at the screen and asked why everything had to be so small. Everyone shared the same phone line, which meant everyone shared the same small frustrations. Get off the internet! I need the phone! That sentence echoed through so many households. And if you were the one online, you'd feel the sudden jolt of disconnection, the screen freezing, the modem cutting out, your session ending mid-sentence. You'd sigh, push back from the desk and wait your turn. Someone had a call to make. That came first. But here's what people often forget. That interruption wasn't just an annoyance. It was a reminder. The internet wasn't a separate world back then. It was still tethered to the one you lived in. The phone, the family, the house, all of it was connected, literally. And so you waited. You shared. You made compromises. What was the first thing you ever searched for online? The first website you bookmarked? I imagine a few of you still remember the exact moment. There was patience built into that whole process. Not the kind of patience that felt like suffering, just a quiet understanding. You understood that good things took time, that connection, real connection, was worth waiting for. And there was something else too, a kind of wonder. You were learning something entirely new. At the kitchen table, in the home office, wherever that glowing screen lived. Children stood beside their parents, pointing, explaining. Adults leaned in, cautious but curious. For a little while everyone was a beginner together. Then one day the screeching stopped. Broadband arrived quietly, slipping into most homes without ceremony. Suddenly the internet was always on. No more dialing, no more waiting, no more sharing the phone line with the rest of the household. At first it felt like freedom. Pages loaded in seconds. Videos played without buffering. You could browse the web and talk on the phone at the very same time. What had once seemed impossible now seemed obvious. But somewhere in that shift, something else disappeared too. The anticipation was gone. That strange little thrill of wondering whether the connection would hold vanished. The ritual of sitting down, dialing in, waiting for the world to load one piece at a time, replaced by seamless, silent speed. We gained convenience. There's no denying that, but we also lost the pause. That moment between wanting something and receiving it, the space where patience used to live, grew smaller and smaller until it nearly disappeared entirely. Nobody mourned it at the time. Why would we? Faster was better. Instant was ideal. But now, looking back, there's something almost wistful about those slower evenings. The ones where loading a single page took long enough to sip your coffee. Where waiting wasn't a flaw in the system, it was the system. And you didn't mind, not really. That sound, the dial-up handshake, still lives in our memories for a reason. It's not just nostalgia for a piece of old technology. It's nostalgia for a pace. A reminder of a time when the world didn't expect everything all at once. When waiting was built into daily life and nobody thought it strange. Those of us who remember that sound remember something else too. We remember learning something new at the kitchen table with a child or grandchild pointing at the screen. We remember the wonder of sending a message across the country in seconds, even if the reply took a few minutes to load. We remember that first glimpse of a world that was about to change everything, arriving slowly, image by image, line by line. The internet didn't just connect our computers, it connected our curiosity, our families, our sense of wonder. And for a brief window of time before everything became instant, we learned to appreciate the wait. There's dignity in patience, there always has been. Maybe that's what we carry forward now, not grief for what's gone, but gratitude for what it taught us. The willingness to wait, the ability to share, the capacity to marvel at something we didn't fully understand and keep learning anyway. If this brought back memories of that glowing screen, that familiar sound, or that feeling of possibility loading just a little bit at a time, please like and subscribe to Golden Days USA for more stories like this. And tell me, if you listen closely, right now, in the quiet of your own memory, can you still hear it?